morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at Durant. Now, usually at this stage, I'd go, ho ho ho, not that Durant, a new Durant. But actually, this time, that Durant and the new Durant, yeah, they're basically the same thing, ladies and gentlemen. Let me explain. Now, our translation here does come from the lovely Antoine Boulet, as you should expect by now. And looking at the basics, things aren't great. We've got 90 HP, which is kind of low, but, you know, it's a basic Durant. To be fair, it's actually 20 more than the other Durant had, so yay! Retreat cost of 1 gives U-turn board for free retreat, which is quite nice here. We can get on board with that one. Weakness to fire, and to be fair, I've made this point for a few weaker metal and grass Pokemon. It does mean a Volcanion with a welder will get a KO here. Generally speaking, Volcanian's a good attacker when you've got 2 energy on Volcanion and 2 energy somewhere else. But here you will actually genuinely legitimately get a KO with just Volcanion welder, boom. That is kind of a big deal. Being a grass Pokemon, it's not great right now. You're not hitting great stuff for weakness, and you don't really get great tricks. I mean, Turffield Stadium will let you search for an evolved grass Pokemon, but Durant isn't an evolved grass Pokemon, so sorry about that. So yeah, not loving being a grass Pokemon. Really wish we still had Netball to search out a basic grass Pokemon or basic grass energy, but we don't. Sad face. Now, the first attack here, we don't need Antoine to translate for us, but nor do we even really need to give it the time of day. Ooh, 1 grass energy, 20 damage. Nobody cares. It's not a good attack. It's really not a good attack. There was a time when I'd go, well, you know, choice band to put it up to 50, and then you hit for weakness and you do 100, but nothing that relevant is weak. We don't have choice band. No. The second attack, however, yeah. 2 colorless energy, Devour. For each of your Durant in play, discard the top card of your opponent's deck. And that should sound familiar. It should sound very, very familiar indeed. Because if we go back to the old Durant, the attack was called Devour and it read, for each of your Durant in play, discard the top card of your opponent's deck. Speaking of which, I need to give Antoine some love here because the wording on Antoine's translations is beautiful. Like, genuinely beautiful. But I don't think they had to try terribly hard on this one. You can just copy and paste it from the old Durant. And the thing is, I have nightmares. I have flashbacks about that old Durant. That old Durant made me so sad. That old Durant ruined so many of my days. I hated that old Durant. Like, genuinely full on hated it. It was horrible. It was so bad. Man, that Durant sucked. Now, I have actually made videos about that Durant on this channel. And, well, I made a video on November the 14th, 2017, in which I officially branded it the worst deck ever. And in fact, 100 people have watched that in the past month. So in the past month, 100 people have relearned how much I hated that deck. Although I do appear to have put the wrong Durant on the thumbnail, and apparently not realized in the past 3 years, which seems like a massive oversight. But I'm looking at it now and I'm fairly sure I put the wrong Durant on the thumbnail. So, whoopsie. Don't tell anyone. And to be fair, that video is doing quite well. So apparently over 12,000 people now know that this is my least favorite deck ever. There was a deck I used to play back in the day. It was a ridiculous deck that revolved around Regigigas EX and Jirachi. And I can say, I think fairly conclusively, I am the only person that ever played Regigigas Jirachi. But I took it to a 33rd place finish at the biggest tournament in Europe. It was something like 6th place to 34th. All had the same number of points, and my resistance was trash, so I missed top cut, which sucked. I won a city championship with this deck, and I made top 8 at another. Guess what knocked me out in top 8 of that second city championship? Durant. I had no Durant game. Durant just wrecked me, and I hated it. Absolutely hated it. Incidentally, at that second city championships, I went 5-1, losing a single game in the last round of Swiss. Guess what I lost to? Yeah, it was Durant. And the theory of Durant is very simple. You get 4 Durant into play, and then you just mill. And the thing is, right, if this goes well, you are discarding the top 4 cards of your opponent's deck. Now, it's going to take a few turns to get through your opponent's deck, but here's the thing. It's not just that you're milling your opponent's deck, because every time you discard 4 cards, that's 4 cards that your opponent doesn't have anymore. It's 4 cards that your opponent is not going to be able to use for the rest of the game. So if you mill all of their twin energy, they're going to find it really difficult to be able to respond. If you mill all of their supporter cards, they're just not going to be drawing anything. If you mill enough good cards, they'll lose. Like, if they're playing an Eternatus VMAX deck, and you mill all of their Eternatus VMAX, they will lose the game. And that's kind of hilarious. The thing is, ADP's a thing. And as a bunch of people have already pointed out, and this is completely fair, you're not going to lose against this with ADP. Because ADP basically goes, I'm going to knock out 3 Durants to win. So I'm off. And that's a pain. Also, remember that Stoutland I showed you? Stoutland is licking its chops when it looks at Durant. Powerful colorless energy, vitality band, 70 damage, take an extra prize off a basic Pokemon? Yeah, Stoutland is going to eat Durant. The funny thing was, when the old Durant was out, we actually had Heatmore, which was printed in Dark Explorers, which was the most ridiculous, blatant counter I've ever seen. 1 energy, 10 damage. If the defending Pokemon is Durant, this attack does 50 more damage. Although the irony was, that wasn't what killed the old Durant decks. It was Darkrai that killed the old Durant decks. So, you should be milling 4 cards a turn, and you should turn after turn be making your opponent's job more and more difficult. And then you're going to be playing stuff like Crushing Hammer to try and get rid of their energy, Team Yell Grunt to try and get rid of their energy. You are going to be trying to make sure that your opponent misses an attack or 2, because making your opponent miss 1 attack with Durant means they lose 4 more cards. And as I keep saying, it's not just about getting your opponent closer to losing the game, it is also about taking out the options from their deck. 1 turn of your opponent not being able to attack equals 4 fewer cards in their deck. But I'm not sure this is as good as the old Durant deck. You see, the old Durant deck had the card Revive, which put a basic Pokemon from your discard pile onto your bench. Here, we can get those basic Pokemon back, but you're talking stuff like Ordinary Rod, and then you got to draw into them, and it's not as easy as it used to be. And also, having cards prized is horrible. Now, what we used to do with Durant is we'd use the Rotom from Undaunted, along with the Alpha Lithograph to let you look at your prizes, and this would basically mean you could always get any of your prized Durants out from the prizes, so you always had 4 out. Because if you've got 1 or 2 Durant prize, this deck becomes infinitely worse. And that's gonna be a little bit of a pain here. Now, to be fair, we do have the Mr. Mime from Detective Pikachu, and the Mr. Mime from Detective Pikachu does let you swap the top card of your deck with one of your face-down prize cards. So you can use Mr. Mime to try and drag those Durant out. But with ADP being in the format, with not having Revive, with not having a brilliant way to get Durant out of the discard, I don't know. Having said that, Durant is one of those decks, and I once watched a sudden death game take 25 minutes because I watched the lovely Alex Holdway win a sudden death game by decking out his opponent, which is not what the game designers had in mind when they invented sudden death. Oh, that was not fun for anyone involved, except maybe Alex. But my point here is, if this works, it works. Now, you've also got to think about the energy here, because Durant used to attack for 1 metal energy. It's now 2 colorless. And you can use twin energy, but it's a 4-off special energy, which is a pain. You can use welder for fire energy, but that means you've got to be using welder to actually get the fire energy on there. You can use Tapu Koko and lightning energy, but that's only going to work for 2 of your Durant. You can use turbo patch, but that's on a coin flip. There are plenty of ways to get that second energy on there, but none of them are perfect. And I look at this Durant compared to the old Durant, and I see that we don't have the old Rotomouth Lithograph combo. And I see that it's for a 2 energy rather than 1. And I see that we no longer have Revive. And I don't like it like I used to like it. Also, let's be perfectly clear. When I say used to like it, I don't mean actually like it. I mean like it in contended and accepted that it was a good deck. Not that I actually liked the card. So I don't know. This is a card that really confuses me. I can look at it and go, it was so good before, I know how much potential there is here. Or I can look at it and I can nitpick all the little things that make it worse than it was last time and think it's not good enough. But I still remember the amount of tournaments this ruined for me, so I'm giving it 4 Wassies, and I'm hoping I never have to play against it. But I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.